We are recording this for later use, and that we can also have everyone, if people come in late, you will be able to see this on our YouTube channel. My name is Sarah Salazar. I'm the Executive Director of Little Italy of Los Angeles Association. And we have our board president, Mario Malfitano, on as well.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Yes, so we have multiple other board members. Just to say hello to them. It's Josephine, Sierra Mataro, John Bagakis, Girolamo. So we welcome and thank everyone else for being here as well. Little Italy of Los Angeles Association, really quickly, we are a nonprofit that is in the San Pedro community. However, we serve all of Los Angeles, doing events such as these and others regarding Italian culture and heritage. So we hope that if this is the first time you've heard of us, that we can see you again after this. The way that this is going to work right now is we're going to have the presentation, which is about 45 minutes. During this presentation, if you have absolutely any questions, please put them in the chat directly to me. At the end, once presentation is over, I will be asking the questions out loud to Antonello, and then we can have the conversation and he'll answer all of those at that time. We have scheduled for right about an hour, so about 15 minutes of the questions and conversations. So please feel free to put any of those in the chat, but I will keep everyone else muted throughout the entire presentation. So with that being said, just wanted to give a little bit of background on our guest speaker. So Antonello Pierro, if you'd like to say hello, just so everyone knows who you are. 1 second. Antonello was gracious enough to do this event for us. And he actually is an Italian attorney and founder of Pierro Associates law firm. He graduated from the School of Law at, I don't want to pronounce this wrong, La Sapienza?
La Sapienza, right.
University in Rome in 1995. And then subsequently, he was admitted to the Italian State Bar in 1999 and the California State Bar as a foreign legal consultant in 2019. After completing an internship with a prestigious international law firm in California in 1997, Antonello worked at Tonucci Partners, an international law firm based in Rome, where he continued to develop his international law expertise. So he has over 2 decades of legal experience in the areas of corporate, M&A, real estate, and international business transactions. So we are looking for his expertise. And again, any questions, please put in the chat. But besides that, Antonello, take it away.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Sarah, for the introduction. And so hello, everyone. As Sarah just introduced, so I'm an Italian attorney, and today we are going to talk in briefly about the Italian real estate, in particular, how to buy Italian property. This is, as probably most of you know already, is a very hot topic right now. There is a big wish of, I would say, a big wish of Italy all over the world, but especially in the States. A lot of Americans love Italy, and a lot of Americans are buying property in Italy. In the last 2-3 years, the number of the people acquiring properties in Italy is increasing a lot. The process is quite different when it's compared with the United States system. And we are going to, in the first part of the presentation, we are going to talk a little bit how the process works. And then, as Sarah said, probably we are going to answer all your questions, all the questions you will have. I'm going to share a slide I prepared. I hope it's going to work. So let's try. So, okay. So purchasing a property in Italy, why you need a lawyer? let's start to say that purchasing a property in Italy is a quite different process when compared to the United States, because of course there is a different legal system. In Italy, we have the civil law originated by the Roman law. So our regulation is still based on the Roman law. So the rules made almost 2000 years ago. The United States system is based on the common law, very different. So this structure law originated also a different way to proceed, how to purchase a property, and all the process that you need to follow to acquire the Italian properties. For example, in Italy, doesn't exist the extra services like happens in the States. So there is a much more risk when you are going to purchase a property, and you have to make a very accurate due diligence before to move forward, to submit an offer, or to sign a binding contract. Also, as a foreigner, it will be very difficult to deal without to know the Italian language and the Italian law. Furthermore, and it's a very crucial matter, there is a different role played by the Italian real estate agent. In fact, according to the Italian law, the realtor has to be independent from both parties. And as all of you know, in the States, in the most of the real estate transactions, buyer and seller has two different realtors. One represents buyer, one represents the seller. In Italy, the system doesn't allow the real estate agent to represent buyer or the seller. So the realtor has to keep a neutral position with respect to both parties, and his primary function is just to bring together the buyer and seller in order to make a deal. So in other words, to simplify, the realtor get a mandate by the seller, advertise the property, organize the visit to the property, but he doesn't do any other things which can guarantee that the buyer is purchasing the property safely, without any issues, without any legal claims. And so that's why it's very important to make very accurate, very careful due diligence before to move forward and buy property. Also, according to the Italian law, the realtor is entitled to charge fee to both parties after the deal as a result of the introduction made by him. So he just introduced the parties. The buyer signed the offer, the purchase offer. The seller just accepts the offer, and the realtor has the right, has the authority to charge the commission. And he doesn't care about the further process when you have to transfer the property. And it happens very often that after buyer and the seller find an agreement about the price, and when you have to go, when you're going to transfer the property, and this happens, and we will talk a little bit later about that, but this happens before the notaio. I don't know if you are aware of what a notaio is, but notaio is not the public notary. He's different professional. He has a different role. He's a public officer. He has a competence like an attorney. He has a very high legal competence, and only if he notarized the signature, the deed of sale will entitle to transfer the property. Otherwise, there is not authority to transfer the property and to register the new buyer in the real estate, the Italian real estate registers, which gives the authority the right to behave as the owner, so to become owner. So it's very important to know, to be aware what you are going to buy before to make the purchase offer. And this, unfortunately, the realtor doesn't help a lot to make the due diligence about the property. Also, it may be a tax issues which the buyer needs to be aware in advance, because according to the Italian law, the buyer has to pay the purchase tax, and usually the buyer doesn't know how much is the amount of purchase tax to pay until he doesn't appear the same day. You have to sign the deed of sale. Until that day, usually the buyer doesn't know how much is it. And sometimes you can have surprise because it might be more than you expect, even if you have to say that the purchase tax in Italy is not so high. But I think it's fair to know in advance how much this pay should be, especially when the property is a big property, expensive property. Let's think about huge villa in Sardinia or huge villa in Tuscany, when people buy property of 5 million, 6 million, and the purchase tax is based on the value of the property and not the purchase price, the value assessed by the Italian tax agency, but could be very relevant if the property is very expensive. And it's something that you need to assess in advance because you have to put in the budget. You don't wanna, you wanna know in the day of the closing that you have to pay 50,000 purchase tax if you are buying, $3 million property. Talking about the amount of the purchase tax, in general, the purchase tax is 90% of the value of the property, which, as I said, is the value assessed by the Italian tax agency, our Italian IRS, I would call. And usually this price is 6-7 times smaller than the purchase price. So if, let's say that we pay property $1 million, so the tax value assessed by the Italian tax agency would be probably 200,000, 300,000, 250, but not 1 million. So the 9% should be calculated over the 200,000. And that is another issue that it's important to be aware. But also, furthermore, there are some specific circumstances where the purchase tax can be reduced from 9% to 2%. For example, there are a lot of people who intend to move in Italy, even if you don't have the Italian citizenship. As American, you are entitled to stay in Italy, to get a visa. In some specific circumstances, you are entitled to apply for the residence visa, which allow you to get a residence in Italy and to stay permanently in Italy. And in this case, you can get the residency and use your Italian property as a primarily residency, primarily house. In this case, you are entitled to get 2%, to pay 2% purchase tax at the moment when you sign the deed of sale before the notary. And in this case, you will declare that you intend to move in Italy, and you have 18 months to transfer the residency in Italy. So it's a quite long time to make all the visa stuff, go to the Italian consulate, apply for the visa, and get the right to establish the residence in Italy. It's another issue that you need to know because depending what you intend to do, what you're going to do, the purchase contract should be, of course, structured in different way. So having said that, let's now take a look in briefly what is more in particular the legal acquisition process. So what we have to do before to start to deal, to start the negotiation with the seller directly or through the realtor. So the main check and due diligence or preliminary due diligence that the buyer have to do is to check and to be aware about who is the legal owner of the property. To be sure, just to be sure that you are negotiating with the legitimate person. And after that, the most important things to do is to assess about any legal case pending against the owner of the property. And furthermore, you have to check any existing constraint above the property. In this case, you will know that in advance that you don't waste your time. You are negotiating with the right person, and there is not any legal claim against the property, which you don't want to deal with. We don't want you want to avoid the headache to deal with all this stuff, which especially if there is some legal claim pending before the Italian court, all the process quite slowly, and you will spend not just months but probably a year to solve all that. And maybe you want to address your searching to another property. And what we have to write to put in the purchase offer. So when we submit the purchase offer, the very important details, of course, will be the offer, the price, the time you want to make the closing, and the term within the offer will be working, will be operating. And then, of course, further terms of purchase that it is according the deal, the project, and many other circumstances can occur in the specific case. And I think it's worth noting that another big difference with United States system and acquisition process that is in most of cases in Italy, the houses are sold without furniture and also without kitchen. And this is something that people in all my experience, when I represent American clients, American buyers, they are always surprised, and I think was important to note. So when you are going to buy a property, you have to know, you have to expect that the seller will take out all the furniture inside. And if you like some furniture, or if you really care to take some furniture, you have to put in the offer, and would be a matter subject to negotiation. And the seller probably would charge a little more, or will ask some further money to leave this furniture. After we submit an offer, of course, we expect that there is the acceptance of the offer, and after that, after the acceptance of the offer by the seller, of course, we will perform the true due diligence and the technical inspection. What will consist the due diligence? With the diligence expression, we mean to access the real estate public records, to check the title, to see if the seller is the person who purchased the property in the past. And this can be done with the help of an attorney or even an architect if he has the access to the database. And secondly, the most important things, since, as you know, most of the property in Italy are very old, very ancient, it's important to check, to learn what kind of construction, remodels, or works the seller has made in the past 20, 30 years, because very often can happen that you buy a property and you discover that some walls has been moved or removed 50 years ago, 30 years ago, or even the last 3 years ago, and the seller, he never get the license, he never get the permit by the city, or even did something illegally. So it's very important when you submit an offer to make an offer contingency on the compliance to the city regulation, the town planning documents, and check if that the property, the building, and all the previous works have made according to the license or permits issued by the city. And of course, in some cases, this is very similar to United States market, United States system. We would make the technical inspection. I would say that in most of the cases in the property, in the condo, in apartment, in the city, we don't need to make real technical inspection because it's more for one sole standing property, one house, one villa, or if you are going to buy the entire big building in the city. But usually when you purchase a property like an apartment, you don't need to make the technical inspection. It depends how much is worth the investment and where you are buying the property. And but in case it deserves to be made, the technical inspection should be conducted by an architect or an engineer. So after, let's say that the seller has accepted the offer and the buyer made the due diligence and the inspection and the check that everything is compliant and fair. The parties, usually according to the Italian law practice, would sign a more detailed contract, which we will name binding contract or contratto preliminare in Italian language. And this contratto preliminare is a kind of contract which, of course, creates a stronger obligation, but even the offer accepted by the buyer and after the due diligence becomes legally binding. But usually when buyers submit an offer, does this very quickly, doesn't regulate all the terms, doesn't put all the terms and conditions, and in the binding contract will put more regulation, more rules, and most of all, this contract will provide the obligation for the parties to sign the closing contract within a specific deadline, which is very important to sign. In this case, the seller will also have the straight obligation to appear at on the date before the notaio to sign the closing contract. And after that, I think we can summarize why it's important, the role of an attorney in the purchasing process of property in Italy. So as we discussed in summary, so probably an attorney can guide a foreign buyer, especially an American buyer, which comes from different jurisdiction with a different system, to avoid the most common mistakes, can help to negotiate the price, because it's very common that the seller, when they negotiate with a foreign buyer, they looks more rigid, but when an attorney appears on behalf of the foreign client, a foreign buyer, there is more space, more rooms for negotiation of the price. Furthermore, an attorney can protect the buyer from the hidden issues and any potential problems before they become a real problem. Because if you are aware before the issue become a problem, your problem will not submit an offer, or will not enter into the negotiation with the seller. Also with an attorney, the time to find and close the deal is significantly faster than if a buyer proceeds by himself. I would say that based on my experience, presenting Americans since 15 years in this specific practice area, when we close the deal, doesn't matter in the city, in the countryside, in all the country, because we represent buyers in all the country. Usually, we close the deal saving 15% of the original offer which the buyer had in mind. In most of the cases, when people comes to me, they say, "Okay, Antonello, I would like to offer this price. What you think is too little?" No, it's too much. I think we should start from different price, much smaller price. So probably guiding the buyer, even helping, consulting about the purchasing price would help him to save money. And also an attorney, in most of the times, opens the opportunity to link with the right bank if you want to get a loan, or with other professionals who you may need, like architect, geometra, engineer, accountant, or construction company you will need to probably hire to remodel the property. So I would say that in conclusion, it's important to have an attorney who understands both Italian law as well the American law, as an American law. And so I think that's all. So I hope my English was enough clear, and I will leave you now to the audience for all the questions. I will be more than happy to answer to all your questions.
Thank you so much. We do have a few questions, and I wanted to let everyone know, if you joined late and you missed some of it, we are recording this, and we also will be sending out the presentation to everyone that was registered through Eventbrite. So don't worry, you may have missed a few things, but we will be able to get that to you. And if you have any questions, I did receive those who put it. If anyone else has questions, please enter them in the box. So the first question we had is going to be, is the notario paid a fee as well by the buyer or the seller?
The notario is paid. The notario fee is paid by the buyer, and the buyer usually chooses the notario, and is a fee, is a cost above the buyer. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the next question, is there a standard fee scheduled charged by the Italian realtor? What are the details? And is this fee in addition to the purchase price paid?
So the realtor, differently comparing to the US system, the realtor charges to both parties, and charge usually 3% to the buyer and 3% to the seller. So if I'm not mistaken, in the States, the seller paid both 3% and 3%. The seller usually paid the realtor 5 or 6%. In Italy, buyer and seller pay the realtor. These 3%, in most of the cases, the realtor tried to charge 4%. And that is another point that usually an attorney negotiate even with the realtor, and negotiate 2.5 and 3%. And in most of the cases, the buyer that especially come from abroad, they don't know how much the realtor can charge. In most of the cases, the foreign buyers pay 4%. And it's worth to know that this is a very negotiable commission, and you can negotiate from 4% till even 2%.
Okay, there's actually a follow-up question to the first one that you answered, so I'm going to jump to that before we move on. Approximately how much is the notario paid by the buyer? Is it a percentage of the purchase price?
The notario, you mean notario fee, right?
Yes, correct.
It's a fee. It's not very big. It's quite a small fee. I cannot predict, but is a little percentage based on the price, on the purchase price. And it's usually, let's say that for the medium apartment in the city like Roma, Milano, could be 2,000, maximum 3,000 euro. But then you have to add the tax, the purchase tax, and this tax is to pay to the notaio, which who as a public officer will collect the money and will pay the tax to the Italian government. And so usually at that time you have to expect the notaio fee and furthermore the tax, the purchase tax.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is for some clarification on the 9% tax. I know you used the example of the $1 million home and paying the 9% tax, which would be about 200 to 300,000. There's clarification because 9% of the million would be less than that. So is the 9% based off of the home cost of the million or based off of the 200 to 300,000?
Yeah, so the 9% is based on the 200,000. So the value, the assessed value of the property, which in 99% of the cases is much smaller than the purchase price. So the purchase price is 1 million. The tax value assessed by the Italian IRS is 200,000. So the 9% would be would be calculated over 200,000. Is it clear enough?
I believe so.
Okay.
Okay. So the next question is going to be, can a geometra do the due diligence of the property, or does it have to be an engineer or architect?
Well, the geometra theoretically can make inspection if we are talking about an apartment in the regular building in the city, but maybe the engineer can be involved or an architect can be involved if we are talking about the structure of the property, if we are talking about ancient property in the countryside in Tuscany or in Puglia or in Sicily, and you want some more competent guy who knows much better the structure issues. Sometimes geometra are very well, they are aware about these issues, but it depends from the area of the regions of Italy. But I would say that it depends from the property, and probably the attorney can suggest if is better to hire a geometra, or to buy an engineer, or to hire an architect, depending on the how much is big the property and what kind of property we are talking about.
Perfect, thank you. So the next question we have is there a standard fee or percentage that the attorney usually charges?
If a standard, so can you say again? I don't see the question here, Sarah.
Sorry, it's what I had sent it to you. It's just what is the attorney charge?
The attorney charge. Okay. So it depends. Usually in our specific case, our firm charge hourly base, but for the small property which has a small value, we usually also agree to set a flat rate fee, which can be starting from 5,000 euro till 8,000 euro. Depends. It depends from the time that we have to spend or the value of the property. So we use both criteria, say hourly fee and flat rate fee.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Can you find out the government assessed value of the property in advance? Yeah, sure. If the seller allowed to give the document even before to submit the offer, we can go in the specific records and check the assessed value by the tax agency in advance. Yes, for sure. Absolutely. We can do that. Thank you. Okay, let me sending you the next message, just to make sure you have it. How do we retain an attorney? Can we retain you? And how do we find a good place to retire?
Usually, so in most of the cases, because when the people start to search a property or they already found a property through connection, internet, relative they have in Italy or advertising, and so they don't want to come to Italy, we make the introduction, of course, like we did today through Zoom call, and then we send the contract, and they sign the contract, they hire our firm, and then we start to work on the case. And so very easy process. It's not complicated process. And how do we find the good area to retire? So this really depends from the taste you have. If the buyer likes more the countryside, the city, active city like Roma, Napoli, Milano, or I don't know if you like more the sea place, but in Italy, I would say that the south of Italy, it's much cheaper than the north of Italy, and even the central regions. You can buy property with modest amount of money, especially comparing what happens now in the States with the real estate market. So in most of the states in US, the real estate market went up, and so in Italy you don't need to put millions, but in most of the cases you can spend 200, 300, 400,000 to buy a property. And of course, if you go to South, if you are familiar with Italy, you know that in South everything is slowly, is not really well organized like the north of Italy, but the life is more enjoyable and more pleasant. The weather is much warmer. In north of Italy, everything's a little bit quicker, well, but much better organized, but maybe the prices of the property can be a little bit higher. Even if sometimes happened to me that I represent people who purchase a property in the beautiful place like Liguria, in the north of Italy, over the sea. They bought the places for 200,000, 100,000, 250. So there are a lot of choices, and I have to say that now the market is becoming very hot here because a lot of people is coming from north of Europe and America, and price is quite low. The market is quite stable, and with the strong dollar, I think now for Americans it's much better to purchase a property comparing the time before the COVID. And also, Italian government launched a new program for the visa called Digital Nomad Visa. I don't know if you are aware about that. Maybe we should make another webinar about that because it's very interesting, very interesting topic. So people people from the States and other countries from Europe and other even extra European countries are allowed to come to Italy, establish their primary residency and work remotely with a foreign employer, for example, foreign American employer, and get a permanent visa, stay here, work remotely, and so you can buy a property and stay here in most of the time. And we are waiting the regulation, which will provide very soon the requirements, but it's something that is really interesting. And probably I would say that right now is the best time to buy property in Italy, comparing 3 or 4 years ago when the dollars was weaker with euro, with the exchange rate in euro. So I didn't answer to the question which is the good area, but I would say that south of Italy is very pleasant, and now Puglia and Campania and Sicily are the most 3 regions very appealing, where the property doesn't cost a lot, and you have the climate very pleasant all the year, in most of the year, most of the time.
Perfect. So I think that kind of answers the next question, but just confirming. So those 3 regions, you feel are the best value for your money right now as an investment, correct?
I wouldn't say as an investment. I would say as a property where you like to enjoy most of the part of your life, like to retire. If you want to make a real investment, I have to say that Tuscany, Rome, and the area of Milano is very hot, very profitable. If you buy a property in Rome, in Tuscany, or in Milano, you want to just rent out in Airbnb for the short rent to the tourist, and you want to use just a few months or few weeks per year, is the most profitable areas if you want to invest, if you want to if you want to make a profitable investment. If you want to just spend most of the time in Italy, I would say that in these three regions in south of Italy is much better because the property are less expensive and you can stay there and the life is very cheap compared to the States, and the weather is very well in the 9 months per year.
Perfect. Thank you.
So
the next one is, are there, as a citizen, so are there better tax breaks and perks if you gain your Italian citizenship prior, as opposed to purchasing as an American citizen?
I would say that doesn't make any difference if you are Italian or American. If you want to become an owner, Italian property owner, and for the tax purpose, which the criteria which makes the difference is the residency. Once you become residency, you don't pay the property tax, which is paid yearly here in Italy, which is very modest. It's 2% of the assessed tax value. But most of all, the difference is when you are resident. So when you are resident, you don't pay the purchase tax and you don't pay the property tax, which you will pay if you are Italian or American, not resident. So I would say that to gain the Italian citizenship doesn't make a difference.
And a side question to the citizenship, do you process citizenship applications?
We do this in our firm, but we do this just based just for the clients who want to apply in Italy, because in the last 3 years, especially with COVID, the Italian consulates in the States operating very slowly, very badly, and people is waiting too much. There is a big alliance in all the consulates in California, in New York, in Florida, and in other states, in Chicago, and so it's our help doesn't make the difference. But we do this for the people who like to move in Italy, rent a property or buy a property, and when they have all the documents ready, we help them to assess which is the best place, the best city, which will process the citizenship application quicker, and we will inquire with all the cities around the area where the applicant will establish his residency, and after that we process all the stuff of all the documents and all the applications they need to do. And it's important to get the consultancy in advance, because sometimes people try to move to Italy, get the residency, apply in Italy, and then they move in the wrong place where, for example, they don't have experience to process the Italian citizenship, because sometimes when you go in the very small city, they never did this process and they don't know how to do it. They slow down all the process. And so it's important to be aware in advance about that. Well, yes, we do for the Italy applications.
Thank you. The next question is, how is the best way to search for properties that are currently for sale?
I would say that the best way is still to come here in Italy and research in the area, connecting with 2 or 3 realtors, because the realtor, so first of all, here in Italy, we don't have the MLS, the multiple listing service, which has all the property on sale. Each realtor has its own listing. So if you go to one realtor, you are not aware about all the property on the market on sale in that region, in that area. So you have to property consult with 3 or 4 real estate agencies. The other option is to go online, and I can probably send later a link, 2 or 3 links with a website where usually are advertised most of the properties. And you can make a research by the area, by the price, by the city, by the type of the properties, and you can go there and check which property are on the market. And after you find the most 3 or 4 ideal properties, maybe I can start to work on and help to make some inspection, some visit of this property. Or maybe if the buyer speaks Italian, can do by himself. And once he is sure that they want to investigate or they want to move forward with this that specific property, hire someone like an attorney to help in the process.
Thank you. This is kind of a next question for sales. So if the transaction is for sale by owner, do you still need an attorney?
If the transaction, sorry,
here, I'll resend it to you. If the transaction, so if the sale is by owner, do you still need an attorney?
As a buyer for the owner, as buyer. Yeah, because even if it's made by the owner, so the buyer, I guess, wants to know what are buying and want to avoid the potential critical issues which the owner might not disclose. Yes, of course, I think it's still useful to hire an attorney. Yeah.
So this is a 2-part question. If the residence becomes the primary residence, is the buyer subject to USA property taxes?
If the residence become a primarily residence for the
Yes.
Yeah, the buyer is subject to the.
Are they subject to US property taxes?
For the Italian property, I don't think so. Even if maybe it's better to consult an attorney, a tax attorney, a tax accountant in the States. But for Italy, so what Italy needs to have is to get paid the Italian tax property. About the property, US property tax, I don't think so, since the property is located in Italy. Another issue that the buyer probably has to investigate is if he has to disclose the property in the States, and US government might ask some taxes based on that. But this is again is probably worth to consult an attorney in US, since I'm not an American attorney. Yeah.
And a follow-up question to that you may or may not know, but if it's not a primary residence, do you know how much the Italian property tax is? If it's not primary.
If it's not primary residence.
Yes, how much the tax is for that?
The property tax, which is paid yearly, is at 2%. So every year you pay, if it's not a primary residency, you pay something around 2%. I said about 2% because every region has a different taxation, which goes from 1.5% till 2%. So it might change according to the location of the property, but it's about 2% of the tax assessed to the value, not the purchase price. Is clear enough?
Yes, clear. Okay, so next question. Do you have to pay income taxes in Italy for rent collected for an American-owned property in Italy? So if you own the property and you rent it out, or yes, rent collected, do you have to pay the income taxes?
Yeah, of course. If you get income from the renting business, you have to pay tax. There are several options, but I think the most convenient option is to choose the one specific regime that the taxpayer pays just 20% over the income you get from the renting, and so 20% is the average that you should pay over this income. Yes.
Okay, we only have a few left, so if anyone has additional questions, please put them in. We have about 9 minutes left of the webinar, so we want to make sure we answer everyone's questions. Next question: how often are properties reassessed?
Reassessed.
Like reevaluated, reassessed.
The value. You mean the value? Oh, not very often. The last assessment we have recently, I don't remember, was 2016 or 17. So they do every 5 or 10 years. They don't do every year. So it's something that once you buy, this value should be for some years.
Okay. So the last question that we have so far is, would we still need a real estate agent as the buyer if we hire an attorney like you, or can the attorney serve as the buying agent?
No, as an attorney, I can't function. I can't serve as a realtor. You don't need so the buyer doesn't need a realtor. Anyway, if the owner is selling the property by himself. In Italy, it's possible to find some advertisement where the owner sells property by himself. In this case, you don't need a realtor. A realtor is not mandatory in Italy. But of course, if I will be hired and we find a property which the buyer likes very much, and there is a realtor, we have to go through the realtor, and unfortunately, the buyer has to pay also the realtor fee. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that was the last question. The only other one was, people want to know how they can contact you specifically, if there's a phone number, email, website that they can be in contact. I will be sending out everything as a recap to email, which I will include your information. But if you have anything that we can put in the chat oh, there is one more question.
Yeah, I think I can put the my website and my email, which are so the basic information. And then, sorry, if you want to send everything, maybe could be very useful, but I'm just putting my.
And there actually is one more question that came in. Let me scroll back up. What's the minimum time to live in Italy to keep a residence?
So if we are talking, this is a very sensitive issue and very, very good question. So if you want to just register in the city to become a resident of Italy over that specific city, you apply in the city and you wait 40-45 days that the local police come to assess you, to check you if you're really there. Of course, when you establish the residency, it should be something real. I mean, you have to establish the center of your interest in Italy. Doesn't mean that you can't live. Of course, you can travel, you can go to holiday, you can do back and forth with the States, but should be some real presence. You should have a presence in Italy. And I said that because there is some people that, for example, come to Italy, establish the residency, apply for the buy property or rent a property, apply for the citizenship, and then after that, get the passport and escape, leave the city. This is not really it's not really fair, doesn't reflect the spirit of the law. So when you do that, you come with the spirit to fraud the law, and it's not really fair. So when you come here, if you establish the residency, and after the 45 days that the police come to check you, then of course you can leave, but you have to sometimes to return, spend time, and have and have some interest in that village, in that city where you purchased or you rented the property. So I don't know if it was clear enough, but I did my best, let's put it.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the last question. I want to thank you, and I know everyone feels the same in the chat. People are applauding you and thanking you. We thank you for your time, all your information. Again, I will be saving this on our YouTube channel for Little Italy of Los Angeles. Please, if you're new to us, follow us on our Instagram, on our website, everything, and then we'll pass along all the information for this great webinar, and hopefully we'll have another one soon with a different subject.
Absolutely, absolutely. With great pleasure. Thank you to Little of Los Angeles to host me. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, the president, Mario. Thank you very much. And so if you have any question, I'm happy to answer. If Sarah, you will pass my contact. I just sent in this chat my email, but any further information, I would be glad to provide that. And I hope I will meet you in person. I usually comes a lot to LA, so next time I will come to see you, all of you, in person.
Absolutely. Thank you. Again, email is in the chat and his website is also in the chat. I will include all of that in a follow-up email with everything and link our YouTube channel for easy access. Mario, did you want to say anything?
No, I'm good. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
All right. Thanks,
Everyone, have a wonderful day.
All righty.
Thank you, you too. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.